Yo, trending down, episode 19. Got Ethersole, got Bender back on the mic. It's 2023, new year, same us with the
New Year, same me.
yeah, right. With the release schedule on these podcasts, but we're rested, we're back, and we're ready to send it. How many times do you think we've said we're back on
It's
this
episode
podcast?
19, so probably 18. 18 times.
Yeah, and you're just gonna have to expect that. But I think the mo going forward is looking like shorter but more. That's like the gist I've been seeing people call for.
Yeah, I think it makes sense too. You can consume your long form, and if you want longer, you can consume it twice in a row.
And we love that. Let me, before we get going here, I need to 50x long real quick.
It's actually shocking how that keeps working.
It is. Okay, here we go. All right, we're locked in. So lately, seen a little pump. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, I think
Prices
everyone was
prices are
shocked
up.
by it too.
Yeah, I mean, it caught a lot of people off guard, is what I'm like gathering. People still fading the entire move of being like, "Nah, this is not real." But I mean, at some point, sellers get exhausted. So, it's nice to see 1,300 ETH and everyone's celebrating like bull market's back on. I mean, shit,
Right.
it's 1,300 ETH. Like, let's be real here.
Isn't that how the market always moves though? It catches everyone off guard.
I
You never
mean, I
know
feel
when
like
it's coming, sort of thing.
that's the whole point of the market. It's like, whatever you expect is going to happen, probably the opposite's going to happen. And the second you start doing the opposite of what you expect, it's just a reverse psyops.
So if you do nothing, you
If you do
stay
nothing,
neutral.
you just sit there with FOMO.
Nice. Okay, so it's a lose, lose, lose.
Yeah. The best case scenario is just DCA long term and chill.
Honestly, yeah, I think I've probably been most successful doing that.
Yeah.
If you filter out the moon shots that like happen to pay off, like you can't really count on those.
Right. I think like we always kind of preach it on Twitter, but it's like, the people sticking around during these times usually do well. Even if you catch something not at the very beginning, you're still going to catch it before the massive tidal wave whenever that comes back. So just sticking around and paying attention can probably do a lot more for you than even like DCAing if you wanted to like preserve capital.
Oh yeah, dude. It's all about time in the market, not timing the market. It's like a
Yeah.
tried and true stock market tip. But like if I'm opening the 1 year chart for Ethereum right now, and the lowest opportunity we had was somewhere like just south of $1,000 a coin.
Hmm.
But you had dozens and dozens of opportunity at $1,000 ETH, 1,100 ETH, and those are 25% moves from today. You just had
Exactly.
to be around and be like, hey, I got some conviction here. I think it could go up again, and dollar cost average your way in. Sell your gains, be safe.
Yep. Yep. If you plan for the longer term with some of these positions too, it's like the asymmetrical upside of ETH at 1K is way better than it was at 4K. Like,
Oh yeah,
what do you really expect the top on ETH to be? I mean, if it's a brand new financial paradigm, who knows? But let's say it's 10 to 20K. Like, you're much better off buying around 1K.
right. And even like this worked from the last market where let's say you bought the Pico top of like 1,400 in the last bull in 2017, and you watch that melt down to like $100 a coin. You wait 4 years and you've got a 4x. You're back at 4,000. So like even
Yep.
if you buy now and it's what 1,200, 1,300, and it goes down to 600 because some cataclysmic event occurs,
Hmm.
you're good. Wait a few years. You'll probably be back.
You know what's kind of funny about this whole thing, and I don't know if it's funny or like depressing, but the the generation that isn't maybe as tech savvy, if you will, the little older generation, they just kind of got into crypto last cycle, kind of buying into the whole, oh, this is early days of the internet. Then SBF happens, all this other stuff happens, and anyone who didn't get in is claiming, oh, see, told you, it's like a complete scam, fraud, whatever. Those people who did take their, like take a risk and maybe dip their toe in are immediately being surrounded by people saying, see, told you. So this next cycle, like I don't see them buying in until like literally it's probably the top again at 10K ETH and rinse and repeat. It's just like, what a brutal cycle that is.
That's okay though. They
Yeah,
got the housing market. We get the crypto market. It's
exactly.
fair.
It's fine. Early days of the internet, were in their favor. So, you can't get too mad about it, but just sheesh, talk about getting put through the wash.
Yeah, that's a rough spot to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I personally can tell you like the sentiment around crypto is basically like, oh, I've written off what I put in or told you full blown scam, never going to go anywhere. So,
Right.
especially in that generation. I think we all know that though. But then, of course, you have Genesis, Gemini, like all those big players fighting like toddlers on Twitter right now about who owes each other what money. Who knows if that'll have a fallout? I kind of think maybe it'll resolve itself, but that's probably an optimistic take.
I feel like anytime you have a bunch of big names bitching on Twitter, you're probably in a bad spot. But hope I'm wrong.
Right.
I don't know. Anytime like CZ pipes up with some little quip, it seems like we always have some sort of villain arc occurring. I don't see
Yeah.
these guys being the same thing. I think this is more of like trying to claw back funds to get more solvency.
Yeah. I think, there is an overhang of, okay, of course you have this Genesis, all that stuff, but Binance is just, there's something there that feels like it could crumble. I mean, just the other day they came out and they're like, so they have Binance USD, BUSD, which is supposed to
Right.
be backed 1-to-1. And everyone's been like, oh, it's managed by Paxos, which is this whole separate company. So there's no real like, I guess like cross contamination there, insider trading, if you will. But then they came out and they're like, yeah, there's been a couple times where we had delays in our internal controls and it wasn't backed by over like $1 billion. It's like, are you joking me? That's a great way to frame that. But
Yeah. That's a big difference.
yeah, massive difference. But either way, I don't know. It's nice to see some green, especially 2023. We got the new year. I feel like vibes are kind of picking up. I mean, you got the NFT market pumping a little bit, which is great to see. And I feel like this always happens around a Yuga event.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all knew that was going to happen, or we all suspected it. I don't think the cryptocurrency coins are at all related to Yuga. I think NFTs more so.
Yep.
But I think it's like a trickle down from one big pump. So I think mutants ran and apes ran, and then things started trickling down off the suspected hype of like, I need to have an asset for the Yuga mint coming up in a week or so. So you had all these people selling their Yuga assets into people buying them, and then that's more money just kind of flowing through the system, saying, okay,
Yep.
maybe I sold an ape for 60 ETH. Let me buy something else for 1 ETH, and I'll buy 30 of them. And money just flows around, I think, at that point when big events happen.
If you look at the size of NFT market cap, like if you can use that metric where you take the floor price and kind of extrapolate it from there to see the market cap of each project, they're all so small compared to like DeFi and crypto coins. It takes just a little bit of liquidity to really get these things rolling. And it's funny to me how people in DeFi like live and breathe market caps, and in NFTs you don't really see that often.
No one really cares about it. They care more so about the narrative.
Right.
DeFi coin, it's like, oh, this is a coin. It's got a $2 million market cap. I don't give a shit what it does, man. Let's buy a bunch of it.
Yeah. And a 10 mil market cap in a bull market, that's easy, right? It's going to 5x. So that's like almost the thesis. Who cares what the fucking thing does? In NFTs, it's such a different vibe. And I've kind of been just thinking about this over the past couple of days around how DeFi is PvP, right? Like you buy a coin, you're looking to dump it on the next person. Obviously there's a time where you hope that these protocols deliver fees and like they actually have real world value, but that's the current game. NFTs, okay, cool. Let's all hold, and floor price goes up because we're a cool community and we want to be in the community. It's almost player versus everyone, right? PvE. So
Right.
it's a different aspect. And you look at what pumps the hardest. It's always been meme coins, Doge, all this shit. We've talked about it time and time again. NFTs are basically meme coins with pictures. And so I feel like that recipe just, I'm probably speaking just like, okay, duh, fucking tell us something new, Ethersole. But I don't know. To me, that just says like this market for sure has another cycle, and it probably exceeds everyone's expectations because of just how dumb the whole situation is. It's literally a coin with pictures. But that's going to pump the hardest. I mean, if you want to be in this club, you gotta, spend money. So, and then you hold because you want to be in the club. It's just this like flywheel that is being created. Imagine if Doge had a club, but you had to hold all your Doge. Like it would have gone to fucking $10.
Oh yeah. I think that's like the narrative NFTs really, really likes is community togetherness, and how does that work together to get everyone else like a higher exit price.
Yeah.
But it's all like in this weird facade of like we're never exiting, which is I
Right.
find that super funny. Everyone's like, I'm never selling this, and in my head I'm thinking, you probably will, and like that's okay, but we don't need to all lie about it all the time.
Yeah. It's, shaming sellers and that kind of vibe is super toxic, and that probably will be handled as it matures. But another point on just like the valuations of things is like, as DeFi protocols mature, you'll be able to see usage, fees. There's kind of a ceiling on speculation there because all of a sudden these projects have a way to value them. NFTs might never have that. Like the speculation can run rampant. And so that's another just point of my thesis of why I've been dabbling a little more in NFTs and why I think, I shouldn't fade the obvious of, I don't know, this is super easy to understand. You don't have to know mathematics, and you just buy a picture and the vibes are chill, and you go to these real world events with people that maybe you end up liking, and you hold that shit forever. All of a sudden it's at 100 ETH floor. I don't know. It seems like a no brainer.
Yeah. It all comes down to the like community perception, right?
Yep.
I think that's what we've seen time and time again, and that's something that's always worked for me. Being like Twitter native is you see something on the timeline once, it's probably nothing. You see it a few times from the right people, and you've kind of got a narrative forming, and then suddenly it's everywhere, and that price is done like a 10, 20x.
Right.
It's all just about what you're saying of people band together, find communities they like. Suddenly you're in a group chat with like 25 other people that are all holders, and only holders are in there. And like you're kind of vibing with these people.
Yeah.
And then people see that and want to buy in, and it's just like brings togetherness. But the speculation side, that's like kind of art in general, right? So I feel like we never
Right.
lose that.
Yeah. And again, like community can go a long way, even if it's just a Twitter post. It brings recognition to the brand. I think that's what's kind of happened with a lot of these, recent pumps, is that these brands are just getting awareness because the community posts. And it's not really, of course, you can do that for a DeFi coin. You post about it, people write threads. I mean, everyone knows that, but you can't really contribute outside of that.
No,
Both
not
are
at all.
bringing awareness, but in NFTs, the awareness goes a long way because one person holding that NFT out of a 10K collection, that size is so small that
Right.
it goes a long way. If you have, just 5,000 people that you outreach to, I mean, again, that can pump a collection just like Yuga. So I don't know. I've been just kind of brainstorming about that for the past weeks or two as the pump has kind of taken over the NFT market, and just being like, wow, the quality projects probably have so much room to run because of how small they are and just the dynamics of the market.
Yeah. That's what I've always been looking at is size of the collection against the control of the community. Like take, Sappy Seals, Pudgy Penguins have both done like incredibly well just from their Twitter exposure. But if those collections weren't 10K collections, if they were smaller collections, that goes even farther then because
Right.
of what you're saying. Like you have a small outreach to a large group of people, and the brand is huge. Like owning one of 10,000 is big. Owning one of 7,000 is bigger. But when you
Right.
have the ability you have a bag of 10 million Doge, you're like, okay, cool. but I have a bag of 100 some NFTs. I can like show those off. I can make memes with them. I can make content with them.
Hmm.
And that goes farther too. It's just there's so many possibilities that are fun to play with there.
I mean, look at it. So Yuga's basically, if you do the extrapolation of the floor price as the market cap, which some people argue is not right because, other value, rarity and all that stuff, right? But let's just keep it simple. And then you look at a guy like Franklin, who's basically a market maker for Yuga at this point. Like he has, I don't know, probably close to 100 apes at this point. I think it's around 70, but is what it is. He basically controls the floor price right now.
Hmm.
And that just goes to show one person being a market maker. If you wanted to see those dynamics, go to any low cap shitcoin and try and enter with size. You'll see like the problems with the market maker, and then see how these dynamics can, be played out at a higher level. One person controlling $1 billion market cap is insane to me. But that just, again, the dynamics of these are amplified times 1,000 because there's just not that much supply. And I think as the space grows, people will kind of be more open to accept these larger collections where it's like, Mutants was 20K and people were like, no, that can never pump. Then they pumped. Maybe the
Right.
next one is Other Side Lands. I don't know. Maybe that pumps. And then it's like, oh shit, 100K collection can pump under the right circumstances and the right leadership. So I think that keeps growing though, because again, it's so small, and thinking that, if millions and millions and millions people rush into this space and there's only a 10K collection, I mean, at some point people stop buying because they can't afford it. But you need to make a bigger collection size for a lower entry. And I think we'll see that play out years from now.
Absolutely. I mean, not even years from now. We've seen it recently, right? We've
Right.
seen the Reddit collection had, God, million some NFTs because they were free to claim, I think they were. And a lot of those pumped.
Yeah.
It's simply the larger supply, the cheaper they are, the more exposure you can get. Like if you have a brand like Reddit or even like Coca-Cola, or just kind of name any large scale brand, they can put out a massive collection and do well with it.
Right. It's going to be interesting. I'm stoked to see where it goes. And like, let's be real here. It's just as bad as the shitcoin market with rug pulls and scams and stuff like that. So don't think that you could just buy into some random low, new collection and think it's going to pump because it only has 10K and these market dynamics apply. I'm super skeptical of any new collections, and I'd rather buy after they've kind of proven themselves. So that's just, I guess, my word of warning.
Dude, yeah. I went through and I've unfollowed like 90 accounts this morning, and a lot of them were projects that I had been watching and then never minted, just didn't see the hype behind them, or I guess the value proposition. But I went back and looked at them, I'm like, oh, they minted out, and then a week after they minted, their socials went inactive. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'm glad I didn't mint. So it almost seems like if you're minting, you're kind of like saying, I have conviction in this, regardless of other factors, whether it's like community involvement, hype on the timeline. You're kind of saying, like, I believe the team is actually going to do well, as opposed to the traditional things we valued and buy by, how much hype does this have on the timeline? Do I want to buy this day of? Now it's kind
Yeah.
of like, ooh, let's see how they handle this.
Exactly. It's something where I would definitely do a little due diligence, or if you respect the founder, Koff Bender Project, and
Let's go.
you want to ape that, like that is another thesis. But yeah, so I mean, today is kind of a big day. You have Yuga unveiling, I think, the mint mechanics, but the real mint is a week from today,
Right.
around. I don't even, what are they? Oh, the trial of Jimmy. That's it.
Yeah, they announced the warm wallet thing on how to mint with it, but that's all we know so far.
Yeah. But okay, so that is a way to allow people to basically keep their assets in cold storage and then use like a hot wallet but not be at risk. But people could still use like MetaMask and shit like that, right?
That's my understanding. I actually did not look at it because I am notorious for using hot wallets. So I was like, probably not going to do that unless the announcement comes out today that says you have to.
Right. I'm the same way.
It's more fun that way, right?
Exactly. Live a little dangerously.
Exactly. But it'll be good. You have a lot to extrapolate from this because it's the next mint after the other side, which had a very clear exit before kind of nothing happened for a while. So if you're looking to play the Yuga mint, whatever it may be, you're kind of asking yourself, is it going to be like the other side where, there was a huge gas war. It was wildly profitable to mint and sell before you played the rarity reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can try to hold on and get some rares and say, this one might be a little different because it's not 100,000 supply, so it should hold rarity and unrevealed prices better. So this will be a fun one because there's a lot of different avenues to play there. And I don't necessarily know which direction I'm going. I guess it depends how the mint mechanic looks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Again, those last couple mints brought a ton of capital into the market because of how hyped they were, and I mean, they delivered for all intents and purposes. I mean, the mint was kind of a shit show. I think they learned from that, but yeah. So I'm excited to see what the tiers thing is. The ape coin. Real quick on ape coin, how crazy is it that it's like gone up after all the staking things?
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Raking.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I did not expect that.
And every time someone posts their like ape earnings per day and then per month, and people flood the comments with, yeah, but it's never going to last. And like, you're a sucker. And this is how they catch you, high APRs, yada, yada, yada. I'm kind of like, shit, maybe I should jump on that because when the vast majority thinks that, they're going to ape in later. And if Yuga can create a sinkhole or massive demand for the coin, those people could end up like printing heavy off of that staking.
Right.
Which I think is like kind of the dark horse. Everyone's expecting it to be DeFi Ponzi staking, right? You stake for a high APR, you extrapolate it over months. You say, oh, I'm making a 500K a month off this. And then, 4 days in, all of a sudden the coin's down 90%. Mm-hmm. I don't know about this.
I don't know either. It really depends how Yuga involves the ape coin going forward. And if some, like you're saying, if something comes out with the other side that says, hey, the other side continues in Q1 or whatever it is, and there actually is a use for ape coin in whatever we're doing next, I could see that going up. That means those rewards go up. That means all those APYs go up.
Yep. I saw some.
Man, I don't want to be bullish about it, though. I'll be honest. I do not want to be bullish about it.
No,
staking
because
usually burns me.
It almost always does, and I haven't dove in, so this is like clearly a thing of like I'm not doing it, which I mean another reason probably not to fade it. But I saw a thread again the other day that was like a guy had 150K ape coin, so around 700K USD. And he was making around 5K a day, like 150K a month off that staking. And then I thought about the dynamics of what we just talked about, how it creates this flywheel. If they can, if they can create a sinkhole or some use for ApeCoin in the game, which for all intents and purposes, you guys delivered nonstop. It's not like it's a 0% chance they do that. This dude could end up being one of the guys that's like, makes 10 mil off of this whole staking scheme and laughs all the way to the bank as everyone else is fading it the whole time.
Oh, absolutely.
You could see that happening, right? Where, everyone in the comments is saying you're a sucker. And then, who's the sucker? It's the people who faded Yuga. But I rest my case.
I mean, you're spot on.
It's just how those things play out. Everyone's calling for one thing. And then, of course, it goes the opposite way. The one time that it like probably shouldn't.
It's like a moon mission, right?
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. The guy kind of had a solid case of like, he's basically just hoping that the heavy emissions up front, because they do taper off after a couple quarters. The staking, the ape that's paid out starts tapering off, but he's hoping the first couple months kind of make up for his initial. And then from there it's free ride, which is a good way to go about it and a smart way to do it. But damn, if that coin takes off and goes back to where it was, even half of where it was, those people are going to be looking like geniuses.
Yeah. The more you map it out, it actually sounds good.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that it sounds good because I didn't do it right away.
No, we almost missed the first month, which is tough, but you know, is what it is. Well, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, there's always a next pitch. That's like the nature of crypto. If you miss one thing, there's always another thing coming,
Yep.
and it doesn't really matter what you miss as long as you hit something else.
And like, let's throw it back to Kobe's kind of, uh, I guess like teardown of the ape staking coin
Right.
system.
It,
That
it
to
made no
me was
sense.
the immediate red flag of like, okay,
Yes.
he's never usually insanely far off. Of course, everyone has a chance when they're wrong, but he was right. It's like a Ponzi thing. Why not use that coin to expand the ecosystem instead of like, just giving it back to people? Stake ape for more ape. When you talk about it, it does not make sense, but that could be why it moons. Who knows?
Yep.
So we'll see how that plays out. Going to be interesting. Again, we'll see how the mint unfolds today. I think it's going to be like the talk of the town. So kind of like the Super Bowl for some ape holders today.
Oh God, yeah. I forgot the Super Bowl was a thing until yesterday, and I was like, wait, that hasn't
Oh my
happened.
God. Yeah, no, February,
Yeah,
month from now.
I've been so out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it doing really well, and if it does well, good for everyone else that jumped on, and poo poo for me.
Yep. I mean, if it does well, that means Yuga's doing well. And that means generally, I bet NFTs are doing well as a whole. So,
Yeah, I think it does all rely on their implementation of the other side and Ape within that ecosystem. If the other side succeeds and you believe it will succeed, ApeCoin probably succeeds with it
yep.
because
It's
of
a
that
gamble and all
sinkhole.
that. Yep.
Yeah,
Agreed.
but
Wh-
man, there's so
It's
many
hard.
pieces. Like
I
there's that
know.
long lockup that all the board members have, that the founders have, that has began to unlock, I think.
Yep.
The other side has not really progressed at a pace that makes the market incredibly bullish on it, which is evident from the price action.
Mm-hmm.
They said in the other side that it continues in Q4, and then Q4 came and went, and nothing really happened with it. So there's a lot of independent pieces from the other side that tell me that it might not be as far along as we want it to be incredibly bullish on the ape coin. So maybe I'm just trying to make it rational for myself on why I don't want to do it today, but it's
I think
helping.
I think that's what I've been doing. So either way, I think it's an interesting subject. We should definitely keep our eye on it. I mean, we have no choice, but yeah, I'll be watching that. And on one hand, it's like you sometimes the plays that you fade, you secretly root for to go down, and then they don't. So
Yeah,
I don't want to root against Yuga for sure. And I think everyone taking the chance and that staking. I mean, so far your strategy has been paying out. So good on you.
absolutely.
But yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I think obviously people. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but it's nice to see some movement in all the markets. But NFTs have been kind of on fire lately.
Yeah, I mean, they've been on fire to the point where you have crazy things working again.
Yep.
And Kaleo pointed this out with Feet Picks. Feet Picks came out a few days ago, and he pointed out and was like, I thought about it, and when I saw these come out, I was like, okay, we're at a local top, like when stupid things start working. And then he kind of reframed that and said, this could also be like the early moments of a bull when stupid things are working.
Exactly.
And I've
You got
seen
to play
those
the other side.
same stupid things continue to work. I think Feet Picks did like a 20x or like a 10x or something.
Yeah.
And then you
And
have
anyone who
like
doesn't know, that was like just literally pixelated feet.
literally, it was like if you took Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley and said, all right, everyone show me your feet. And took a photo of it and sold them all for like $100. Blow my mind. And
Yeah.
then someone sent me them at like 0.01 or something, or like some incredibly cheap number. And I looked at them and just I laughed. I was like, this is incredible. This is a hilarious idea. And then I heard that they pumped, and I was like, I hate everything about this.
Yeah. I mean, I did not jump in, obviously. If it was the new Goblins, I would have been livid that I missed it, but also I would have been like, okay, that liquidity is going to flow other places. So whatever.
Yeah, there's no way it's new goblins, right? Like I cannot see
No,
the
no way.
market saying these are worth multiple ETH. Like I will not have it. I simply will not have it.
Yeah. No. We're not doing
But
that.
I say that as you have multiple clones of the Feet Picks collection coming out now, all of which are relatively successful.
Mm-hmm.
So market is looking better than I think a lot of people expected it at this point.
Yeah. No, it's great to see. And with ETH being this low, you also get a dynamic where in USD terms, the NFTs are somewhat low. And so it's just this like, again, flywheel cycle of ETH goes up, NFT floors hold or dip a little bit, then USD goes up. So, it's this back and forth. Obviously, a lot of people value their stuff in USD or ETH terms as they should. But you could see this push and pull cycle as we've seen before where ETH goes up, it chills, NFTs go crazy, rinse, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting time to allocate some capital there. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and we've also got the Blur airdrop coming up for the NFT world.
Ooh, good
So we have
point.
Blur and the Yuga thing. An airdrop has always predicated not predicated. It's been the precursor to some sort of at least mini NFT rally. So you have two good events that could provide liquidity for many things. I wonder if actually the last 2 weeks or so have been people preparing for that event and saying, okay, we think these will be liquidity events. Let's buy in now and start moving money over, which actually caused these liquidity events to move things upwards again.
Agreed. It's fun times. It's nice to have a little bit of like good vibes back. It felt like
Yeah.
every other post was doom and gloom. Twitter was annoying. It seems like a lot of people left, and now it's just kind of like the people who stuck around are here for the long term, and they're just bringing overall good vibes. You still have people doom posting, but that's probably not going to go away.
No, that's going to be around forever. And that's okay. We've
Yeah,
come to accept those people as just unhappy individuals.
yeah, bear cucks. Anyway, um, we have so many Twitter topics since we've been out for a little while. The producer, who's absolute stud, probably gonna not cut this out when he's editing. But again, we just press record and go. So he doesn't really have much editing. So let's not give him too much hype. But no, he's been killing it behind the scenes. He put together all the Twitter questions. You want to hop in?
Yeah. I'll read the first one
Okay.
because I want you to answer it because I don't know what it means. Is this Thursday going to be a pain day or do we have until the end of the month? I don't have any idea what's happening on Thursday. I think it's
We get
tomorrow.
new CPI tomorrow. So,
Got
which is
it.
just a Fed number for
Yeah.
people who really don't give a fuck. So, we'll see how the Fed is kind of looking at recent market movements and then maybe a little hint at what they're looking at for the rest of the year. But CPI is like basically like, all right, well, let's see where inflation's at. And, if it's trending down, as it has been, I don't know how you justify more rate hikes. So it's interesting. I don't think the market's going to go crazy until tomorrow kind of passes, but there's a case to be made that tomorrow could mark the start of like a new regime, and as far as like rate hikes go.
Yeah, I don't like that the last time we heard from the Fed was they said the window for a soft landing has gotten very small.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't give me a lot of hope for tomorrow or any of their announcements in the near future.
And
I
I
guess I'm
don't
looking
trade
for
these
clarification
moves
on that.
because
No,
they whipsaw, right? Like you're gonna get rinsed either way. You go long on leverage, you get wrecked. If you go short on leverage, you get wrecked. So it's just a winner for market volatility if you're gonna really talk about it. But it's such a joke that the fucking Fed has like this once a month meeting that controls the markets. It's just like, how the fuck is this not something that's just we get rid of? It doesn't make sense. I mean,
No.
strip out all the economic theory and everything, but it's such a joke. One person controls the market, or one entity rather.
Yeah, you would imagine they would just open. No, you wouldn't imagine this. This would never happen. But like,
Just
why can't you
insider
just open
trading.
source it all and just say, hey,
Oh yeah,
here's the
yeah, yeah.
data. It flows in every day. It's a real number.
Or an algorithm, right? It's just like take out the human component of it and but I guess that's what we're fucking building here with cryptocurrency, right? So it's
That's
interesting.
true.
So yeah, I don't know. Pain day, we'll see. I think it's going to be more chop, and then I do think maybe once the dust settles from that chop, we kind of resume maybe an upward momentum. But I've been super happy with what's been happening so far, and I don't think we need to pump to the heavens immediately. I'd rather have a slow build so that all the people who were tourists in the industry don't come rushing back. Like, let them come back when ETH is 5K, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, it's at 5K, new all-time highs. I don't think that happens this year, by the way, but shit, I would love if it did.
I'm in the same boat. I like the chop. I like the horizontal. It gives people time to kind of master their craft and build new things that bring new excitement. If we just try to whipsaw back up to 4K, 3K, 5K, nothing good comes from that.
No. And it is cool to see the dynamics of, a little bit of an NFT momentum and then the deflationary aspect of Ethereum right now. So a raging bull market is going to have some crazy flows on ETH. And I think the market's never really seen that. So who knows what could happen, but let's just have a slow, steady rise. NFTs can do their thing in the background, onboard a bunch of people, people then maybe take up DeFi a little bit if they're into that sort of thing. But slow and steady wins the race, as they always say.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I mean, what I keep going back to is that think of all the problems, all these tools we had or platforms we used dealt with during the bull market and how much we complained about them. And OpenSea was a great example that it was down constantly or had X, Y, or Z issue. And now if you go through OpenSea, they have a bunch of new features. They're clearly building out some infrastructure to service the bull next time or better next time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want right now.
Yeah.
We don't want we want a crazy pump. But we want crazy pumps in like small caps.
Yeah.
We want horizontal in like the large cap guys.
Get rid of the players who did it all dirty, the FTXs. Let all that shit be cleaned up. Let Genesis and DCG or whatever, like Barry Silbert's whole scheme, fall under. Without them, you get to see how the true market reacts. I mean, you're already seeing it with like price action recently. Without SBF doing their bullshit liquidations, like, it's been more smooth. And so I think let's rinse those players. That doesn't mean like we nuke back down to 800. I think most of the bad news has been out there. I mean, who knows, but that's my take. And so, keep clearing that up in the background. I'm hearing they found about $5 billion, the FTX bankruptcy attorneys. So that's spelling people get, close to 50 to 80 cents on the dollar. That would be a huge win for a lot of those people and just the market overall. And so that would spark, a lot of interest returning, if these people don't get waxed for 100% of their balance. So, let that play out though. And we could have a real foundation being built in a healthy way.
What I'm hearing is we like it. We like the moves. We like where we're at.
We do. We absolutely do. And hard to complain right now. If you're complaining, it's just like your bad vibes. So yeah.
So next we've got, I'm going to complain about this one. I'm about to be huge bad vibes on this next question.
Okay, so you go first.
Hike or bike?
Hike or bike? Interesting.
I'm going to take this as like go for a hike or go like mountain biking.
Right. Okay.
And if it's like walk through the city or bike through the city, I have the same answer actually. Dude, I'm never biking. I don't own a bike. I have nothing good to say about bikes. Like, hear me out, okay? If it's rain, let's say it's raining, like I can walk to the store, I can drive to the store, I can bike to the store. You're gonna drive. Yeah. You don't want to get wet. Let's say you can't drive. You're gonna walk or bike. If you bike, you're just getting wet faster. Like, you're in the rain for a less amount of time, but you're colliding with the raindrops horizontally. You're still getting soaked. You have a tire splashing water behind you. It's a pain in the ass. I'm not biking. I'm walking. Put it on a jacket, maybe an umbrella, and I'm walking. If I'm going hiking or mountain biking, I'm hiking. Because I'm not gonna mountain bike. I don't want to carry the bike to the car, unload it. I have to bike my way up. The fun part seems like biking down, but I have to go up first.
Yeah.
For hiking, the fun part is kind of just doing it. There's no real bad part. The up is like the up, the down is the down.
No. Maybe you need some water, but
Yeah,
that's about
yeah.
it. You can
But
carry
also
that.
like mountain biking, like I clearly have not mountain bikes. I have all these like ignorant opinions, but I'm not going to fall off the edge of a mountain if I'm hiking. If
It's
I'm
true.
biking, there's a high chance I fall and like collide and then tumble down a mountain.
Yeah.
I'm hiking. I'm hiking.
Okay.
I'm walking. I'm not biking.
Okay, so I'm a big walk guy. Love getting like, in between meetings or whatever, go take a break, go for a walk. That said,
That
Super
said,
73 e-bikes can vouch, shout out, they're fun as fuck. But again, I'm not riding them on a rainy day. So I walk way more than I ride that bike. And it's also not biking because I'm just full throttle going like 35 on an e-bike. It's basically a motorcycle.
wait,
So like,
this thing is sweet. It's like a cafe racer bicycle.
right.
Whoa, okay, this thing's awesome.
Oh yeah, Super 73, my guy. You ever heard of it?
No, absolutely not. Did you hear my
Okay.
opinion on biking? Do you think I know
Shout
about
out.
bikes?
Okay, if you want to sponsor us and change this guy's opinion on bikes, like hit us up. But these things are super fun. I wouldn't even say it qualifies as in biking. I'd say it's like an e-bike category or almost motorcycle. So I'm going to go hike too, just because urban hikes, walking, like big fan of that. Try and get multiple in per day. So it's something I do way more. So yeah, I kind of agree. Hike there, but riding an e-bike is fun as fuck.
I think biking is different if it's good weather too. Like
It's true.
a lot of my disdain for biking has come from like, it's raining. Why would I bike in the rain? Or like I'm driving and there's like a bicyclist in front of me and I'm like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But in
I
the
get that.
sun, like a nice like leisurely bike in the sun, like maybe bike to like a margarita spot, bike back.
I can't even remember the last time I had like just a regular bike. So I can't even weigh in on that. I feel like e-bikes don't
Yeah.
count.
No, they do not. You have to pedal. It has pedals. Do you have
They
to
didn't know
pedal?
that they have pedal assist, so you can put it on like different gears and then they'll go like way faster. But you're like barely pedaling. I mean, you're not. I would never count it as exercise.
So if you're going, let's say 30 miles per hour, how
Yeah.
fast are you pedaling?
Oh, I mean, you could pedal as fast as you want, but you're gonna look silly because it just like spins like it's in a low gear on a regular bike.
Okay. So you're pedaling enough to look like you should, like how you should be on a bike.
Right. But then you're going 35.
Perfect. This is my
Yeah.
kind of thing.
No, yeah, you should get into it. Yeah, so I guess we're both on hike there, which hilarious question.
Okay, we got a Bender intern question, which
Oh
I have
God.
no idea how to answer
Skip.
this. Skip. Okay, skipping it. No.
Let's do it. I think it's a good one.
What is your most underrated tip to guarantee a good morning?
Oh Jesus.
Dude, sleep through it.
No, that's your go-to.
Done. Next question.
Mine is probably coffee.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you there too.
Like, I mean,
But I have a very specific kind of coffee. You got to go to a coffee shop,
okay.
order a coffee and like a pastry, and sit down and like enjoy that like in public out in the world.
I can appreciate that. I have to have my first coffee at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like Nespresso kind of coffee guy, or
Or
like
I'll do
vanilla
black
coffee
coffee,
pot?
or I'll make a
Ooh.
latte or like whatever, but it has to be at home, probably for personal reasons. But I don't mind a coffee shop coffee once I've got the juices flowing, if everyone can pick up on the drift there.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be a tourist first thing in the morning taking a sip and being like, bingo bongo, gotta find a situ.
So you got an espresso maker over there? You making lattes?
Oh, I can make a latte. We can make the black drip coffee, which is kind of like my go-to during the week.
Yeah.
Because we'll kick it till lunch before we even eat a meal. So it's like once you hit it with that black coffee, you're kind of still keeping that fast almost. So a little intermittent fasting in there, but yeah, that's kind of the go-to. I do respect the coffee shop move. I'm just saying personally, I have to prep for that.
I know that you're calling it intermittent fasting. It's just skipping breakfast. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It sounds way cooler.
It really does.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
in the in crowd by doing that.
So I hate coffee. I don't like the taste of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So you
can't.
like tea then? I mean, this is another question, by the way, coffee or tea. So
Oh, tea 100
tea.
times over.
So what's your
Yeah.
go-to tea?
Green tea or black tea? Typically green
Because
tea.
so green tea has caffeine, right?
Yeah, green tea and black
Okay.
tea have caffeine, but it's not as much as a drip coffee, I don't think.
Okay,
And if you
because
drink enough green tea or black tea, it will like erode your liver. So I have to not do that too.
oh, interesting. That's a like nice little dynamic they toss in there.
Yeah, healthy and good for you. However, will destroy your liver. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will hide the coffee flavor with everything else. So like I'll grab a latte, I'll grab a mocha, I'll grab the fancy like hazelnut lattes or whatever they may be, because I can't deal with like the black coffee, the bean juice taste. It's just too strong to me.
Okay, no,
So
that's
I
fair.
could not. Yeah, like you.
Do
Like
you?
I wish I could enjoy a cup of coffee at home. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Do you put like sugar in those drinks?
No, there's plenty sweet
Okay.
enough. If you get like a latte, it's espresso and foamed milk, and like that's sufficient
Yeah,
because
I
the
like
milk
the almond milk
dampens.
because it kind of gives it like almost as it has like a different taste.
Yeah,
That's just me personally. Plus, like milk doesn't really agree with my stomach. But now everyone just knows everything about my diet. So
I actually yes I do. And now I'm in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm about to go to a coffee shop after this. I already know what coffee I'm getting to.
ooh,
I'm pumped.
yeah. That's a good
Actually, I
call.
just got an espresso machine for Christmas.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I can try to make like some lattes and some mochas and some like advanced coffees at home.
You absolutely should be a little barista for yourself,
Yeah. I okay,
and then
so
you
I
tip yourself.
here we go. Make myself money.
I'll just buy an NFT
So
as a tip.
I did try to learn how to do like coffee art. I bought like the stencils and I bought like the cinnamon and nutmeg to like create coffee art out of the stencil. Not like the fancy stuff that baristas actually do. Man, I am bad at it. I think I made like a hot chocolate and like put whipped cream on the top. I was like, all right, here's a good base. Like leveled it off like a nice
Yeah.
white canvas. I put this stencil of like a maple leaf on top of this coffee mug.
Wow, the guy's just going above and
I
beyond.
was so excited for what was about to happen, and I'm like sitting here like sprinkling cinnamon on top. Like, oh, this is gonna be a great thing.
That's amazing.
Pull the stencil off, and it's like a brown circle in the middle of my hot cocoa.
Okay, so
I'm
we need
just
work, but it's fine.
yeah, I'm not
It's
made for making coffee.
and you know what? The first thing is acceptance. So and realization of that. So it's fine. You're
We're
not
there.
like kidding yourself.
No. All right.
Um,
Next question. How did you get into coding?
well, I'm not into coding, so that's all you.
That shit, neither am I. I hate it. All right, it's 2025.
You just hunt, and, like we said, you hunt and peck when you code. You don't actually
Literally.
smash keyboard.
Yeah, we got in this call and Ethersole heard me typing and he was like, "You coding right now?" And I'm typing up a storm. It's like, man, when I'm coding, I'm like smashing like one character a minute.
Yeah.
I got into coding because I had a buddy in college that wanted to make a video game, and we were seniors, and I didn't know anything about coding. And he was like, "All right, I'll write the story because I'm good at writing." He's like, "You learn how to code and you make the game." And I was like, "This doesn't feel like a fair responsibility tree, but yeah, sure. Like I'll do all the work." So I did that. I learned how to code and went and got a degree for it, and never made that game, but that's how I got into it.
I mean, great skill to have. I wish I knew how to code. I feel like I've looked at smart contracts enough where I can at least understand them, but I maybe like couldn't write them. But with AI coming, I probably won't need to anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. They've got something called Code Pilot now that like will search all the repositories on GitHub and like pull code snippets out of it that the program thinks you might need for what you're writing next. And there's this big controversy around it because it was parsing private repos.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so if you've got like, your company's worth $100 billion and they have code hosted on GitHub, I guess it was parsing that code out for a time. It was a big controversy. And I'm not worth $100 billion, so I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, AI is coming. You can just tell it what you want it to build. It'll build it for you.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Some people may argue against that, but whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. Haters will hate.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. It's 2020. This kind of touches on what we were talking about earlier, but it's 2025. What do you think is the mean/average size for a new NFT collection? 25, 100K? Infinite?
Infinite.
Wait, okay, speaking of that, how many, like, when does nouns stop?
Never.
So it's infinite. There you go.
Yeah, it's one per day until the end of time, I think.
Okay. So we already have an infinite out there, but that could be I've seen people adopting that. I don't know. You have to have a real strong
Yeah.
use case there. But again, I think they do scale up as the space grows. 2025 is 2 years from now. That we'll probably have another cycle before then. And I'd assume during that cycle, they scale up a bit just to accommodate for the amount of people. But yeah, I don't even know how 10K was decided on.
I don't either, and I'm trying to, while you're figuring this out with your own mind, I'm trying to go back and look at some like old shit coins from like the first few cycles and see how their supply worked versus their supplies now. Just seeing if we have any
Right.
data on, this is how a shitcoin grew from 2015 until now. And it's actually not as easy as I thought it was going to be to find.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they do scale up. I think 25K would probably be the next logical leap, 25 or 20K. I couldn't see it going from 10K to like 100K or infinite. I think you see a lot of open editions where they might be open for a few hours and you mint as many as you want, like we've seen Xcopy do.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are wildly successful for various artists. I don't think they make a lot of sense for other mediums, but I think it just comes down to the market you're servicing. If we have this other cycle coming up in the next year or two, like we believe there to be, you'd imagine there'd be more transient users that come in or tourists per se, and you have to service those people. So like a 10K collection was big enough for our last cycle. It probably won't be big enough for the next.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean price per unit goes down? Like probably not. People are greedy, but I do think supply goes up.
Yep.
I would say 20K would be the average for 2025. I was guessing with some large players doing more 100K plus collections. Like you had Yuga do 100K in 2022. 2025, wouldn't be shocked if they're still around and thriving. They do a 200K or more.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can make an argument for maybe there's attachments to the current NFTs that are infinite or something like that are part of like gameplay where, maybe you're hunting resources in game and then it produces an NFT. There's no supply cap on that NFT per se, but actually like acquiring it takes a ton of like, I don't know, time or resources or something to get to that. So there's going to be a ton of dynamics in my head.
Oh, yeah, dude, absolutely. There was I think, what is it? Oh gosh, that game that was on Avalanche and on Harmony One,
Oh,
something
DFK.
DFK.
Yeah.
Wasn't that pseudo infinite where they just kept bringing out more and more and more summons, so the game kind of grew infinitely?
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that, like you're saying. Like maybe a coda, if you're going the other side, a coda can harvest resources on a land, and through time, codas can use those resources to create helpers, and those helpers are infinite, and you can have infinite helpers, so the collection's infinitely sized. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think a lot
No,
of
no.
options here.
Interesting dynamics to look forward to for sure.
This next question is exactly what we just talked about.
Okay.
Coffee or tea, cream or straight.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We jumped ahead. So
I am going to out myself as the absolute worst tea drinker in the world. I will put a tea bag in tea and I will let it sit there until I finish the tea. I don't put anything in it. I don't put milk in it. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm not the guy that's like, all right, tea bag goes in, pour the hot water over the tea for like, 2 ounces, let it steep for 3 minutes, fill the cup up the rest and pull the tea bag out. I don't do that. I took a tea class on how to like brew tea properly. I didn't listen.
Jesus.
It was a
Okay.
Christmas gift to like join this tea class. It was kind of fun.
Okay.
But I learned I'm like a horrible tea drinker. It's a pure like functionality thing of, hot water, tea bag, caffeine.
I mean, fuck it. I don't drink tea, so I don't really know. But I feel like I just like toss the water in there and pull it out when I'm like, it's a little bitter or some shit.
Yeah, once it has like a taste that you're like, don't really like that.
I'm like, ooh, this is hitting the back of the tongue way too harshly. So I'm gonna pull this little thing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, that was a good one though.
What theme do you see in NFTs for 2023?
Number go up.
Number go up. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of got into a couple collections recently, but I think more start dropping their own coins once the regulatory aspects are paved by Yuga, and I think people are holding off on that. So I think that might be a theme. More people coming out with their own ape coin, sort of say. But I am only bullish on probably collections who have a very strong community as is. So there will be probably frothy ones that try and pull something off, but again, those are going to fizzle out. So I think collections releasing their own coins, maybe some games coming out this year that are actually playable, that have like NFT aspects to it. And then I would say, more corporations diving in like Reddit did.
Yep. Absolutely agree.
Yeah, that's it.
I think I've had a lot of people ask me about
Bender
that.
Project, but that's the next question. So
Bender Project, man. Yeah, that's going to be a theme.
Oh yeah.
I've had a lot of people ask me, is this going to work in NFTs, or how does this happen, or what is this going to do, kind of thing. And I've had the same opinion every time of we've reached a point in NFTs with the current market where you have to have a persona attached to it, a person, a market, or a existing brand that's coming out to really push what you're doing forward.
Yeah.
I think that's our theme for the year is big things coming.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm excited for it. I think a lot of capital flows into the space, and that's a good thing. There's not a ton of overhang in NFTs either, where it's like, surely there's projects that have bag holders from a higher floor price, if you will, but it's not like coins where there's vesting schedules, unlocks, like, severe bag holders from coins that have maybe been around for a couple years or have had previous hype cycles where it went, thousands of X and they're still holding. Like, okay, that's a huge headwind for a lot of projects. NFTs don't have that. So I think you'll see a lot of capital be flowing in there.
I also think we see more utility-based things as well. Utility being tooling to help you succeed through the bear and prepare you for the bull. If I was someone that wanted to service a market in the bull, I'd be looking at something like Blur was a great thing. You had NFT nerds, things like that kind of say, hey, this will give you essentially a game shark for the next market. I think we see a lot of those coming too.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
What themes do we see in DeFi for 2023?
We've touched on it, but I think it's more like user-based metrics. I think Arbitrum is definitely the home of DeFi right now. That's where a lot of collaboration and innovation's happening. GMX is obviously one of the strongholds there, which is like pumping out fees. And that's based on usage. So I think a lot of these protocols are going to be more based around usage. That doesn't mean the speculative nature is gone. You're going to be speculating on which protocols can like harness that usage. But I think Arbitrum is a good place to start if you're trying to dabble in DeFi. I think that there probably are regulatory headwinds coming for DeFi though. So another reason why I'm a little more bullish on NFTs in general. But ETH going up is going to pump coins. So you can't count the coins out. But yeah, probably regulations heading there. Regulations are super slow though. So, who knows? But again, NFTs don't have that overhang. Another reason where it's like, oof, I don't know. It's makes for an argument to deploy capital there a little easier.
I like it.
You know the next question.
I do know the next question. When Benderverse?
Benderverse.
When it comes,
Yeah.
I've been very careful not to give a date because I don't believe in, I don't miss deadlines. If I give a date, like I'm hitting the date.
Yep.
And right now it's not about the date. It's about the perception and about getting through the full process to execute a successful launch. So I could give a date that is, X number of days in the future and hit it, but that is just kind of a means to an end of getting something out the door and not so much getting something out the door in a way that I'm proud of and that is successful. So when Benderverse is still very much under wraps, but it's not the answer that anyone probably wants, but it's coming, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a smart way to do it. It's always been like you don't promise timelines because then people, that's a way to disappoint people, and that's never a good way to run a project. I'm stoked for it, to say the least, and I know how much time and effort you've put into what you have now, and I think people are going to be stoked. But as we've always kind of preached, like the product will speak for itself, so there's no reason to
Absolutely.
really hype it.
No, and I have a big issue with things like what the problem that Utes fell into, which was this day. This day comes. That's actually that day. That day comes. It's actually going to be the other day over there. Like that, just it's stringing along a community in a way that's negative,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to do that. So I
Yeah.
guess to clarify, it's ready. It could go, but it'll go when I feel that it needs to go.
Yeah. No.
And that's
Smart.
the
Smart
best
way
way
to
to
do
set
it.
it up, because then you're not going to miss a timeline and you're not
Yep.
going to disappoint a community.
Yep. Exactly. Um,
This one's
no.
for you, buddy.
All right. Here we go.
Give us a random rundown why you picked up so many little pudgies.
Okay. Good question. Okay. Again, we've talked about NFT projects that haven't released a coin. Pudgies definitely plays into that. Another thing going for it is it has a lot of how do I put it, high value shillers who people trust. Kaleo, Jeebus, Pantoshi. So that's one thing. It'll always have kind of a spotlight put on it because people are hyping it, and again, people who people trust, which is a big thing. The team, I've researched them quite a bit. The story's cool, right? The project failed essentially, and then someone basically bought it. Luca bought it for $2.5 million, and so market cap right now says it's 80 billion. Again, a weird metric, or 80 million. Sorry, a weird metric to kind of go with, but for all intents and purposes, they've done a great job. Their whole thing is like basically spreading the brand awareness. I mean, it's a cute little penguin. It's pretty easy to spread. They're going to make toys, all this stuff. So I think the brand awareness gets out there. And then in my head, Pudgies were around like 6 ETH, and then Lil Pudgies were like, so Pudgies are 8,000 collection, right? Not 10K, a little less. And then Lil Pudgies were around 20K, so just like Mutants. In my head, I remember fumbling the bag on Mutants hard. They were sitting around 2 ETH forever. And I just was always like, okay, one, they're a little more ugly than the OGs, and they're a 20K collection. They'll never pump. That's always, and that didn't play out like that. They pumped to the sky, and it's because it was a cheaper entry to get into the BAYC club. And so in my head, if Pudgies takes off, Lil Pudgies probably do the same thing. It's basically like a catch-up trade, right? So if Lil Pudgies hit 50 to 100 ETH floor, Big Pudgies hit 50 to 100 ETH floor, you could see those go to, I don't know, 10 to 20 like Mutants did. And for 0.5 ETH a pop, when I got in, it made perfect sense to pick up a big bag. I'm probably looking to allocate more capital to that whole ecosystem because in my head, they're just like a year or two behind Yuga. And so not that I think they'll like mimic what they did, but I think they will mimic aspects of it, like a coin and their own like universe or whatever with land and all that stuff. So I'm just like, okay, I remember how it went for Yuga. And even if it's 50% of that, there's a lot of money to be made in airdrops and the coin and all this type of shit. So I'm not going to fade that, especially with the amount of backing it has from like larger players. So that was kind of my thesis there. And I'm just going to basically ride that out for as long as I can. Or maybe it goes to zero and I top tick the whole thing. So.
Also possible. We hope
possible.
for that one not to happen, though.
No. Not financial advice. No need to follow me. Definitely a risky play. But again, I think with the larger accounts kind of shilling it, it's maybe safer, if you can use that word, than most.
Yeah, it's one of those things that goes back to what we talked about earlier, which was you see something on the timeline from the right people more than once, it's probably a time to move. And we saw that happen with Pudgy Penguins months ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing the little penguins kind of get that timeline again.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so I think they all pump in unison, and especially with, the overall NFT market catching another cycle. It doesn't, like, coins and NFTs, I think, can have their own cycles. And so even if ETH doesn't go to all-time highs, I think NFTs probably would or could do better in an environment where ETH is going sideways for a bit. And so if that's the majority of this year, then I think NFTs could run hard, especially because it's such an easy concept for a new market participant to kind of understand.
Yeah. I
So we'll see.
think they also are the only collection that I consistently see on Instagram, but despite not following anything crypto related on Instagram, they like permeate my feed somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. They've got like the like great targeted ads going, so I'll get like these little motivational quotes randomly about like the pudgy penguin attached.
Dude, they have a GIF, like all the popular GIFs, they have that just as a penguin. And I think GIFs just resonate with people and spread the message. And their whole thesis is like spread brand awareness, and eventually the assets themselves will go up because of that. And so their whole thing is just infiltrate the timeline, and the community is dope. So like, I think it has a chance, and it's so young that, even if the NFT market just catches another cycle, these will be a leader. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, that's a no-brainer. Let me allocate capital there. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll definitely come back to this. I'll either get roasted or, again, buying a fucking cartoon penguin picture for like 5K is such a joke. But then if you think about back when I first bought my BAYC, buying that shit for like 20K or 15K was such a joke too.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got the same vibes here. And so I just took the leap and went a little deeper this time, as to where, I wish I would have done with Bored Apes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Time will tell. I think it's good pillars you're standing on here. So hopefully it turns out well.
Yeah, I think that there's a floor, like I don't think it goes to zero with everything mentioned. So the ROI is like a little less risky than some other plays of going like without that sort of those other factors.
Will you, let's say like a Yuga liquidity event happens and the market pumps unilaterally, will you offload some of these to cover some costs and then try to buy back in later? Or are you just going to hold them and play the long run here?
Yeah, I'm kind of like thinking I have like price targets always with these type of things. And so to make it tax worthy, I would want them to go to a pretty almost like parabolic level to take profits. So, the flipping, like, okay, say they pump to one, like they're at 0.5 or so, 0.6 ETH right now, the littles. If they went to like 1.5 ETH, like sure, that's a come up, but and then buying lower and flipping, like the taxes there, I just get wrecked. And so I would rather hold and maybe, I don't know, maybe they drop a coin late in the year or even early next year or something along those lines. And then there's a huge spike. I would rather sell during an event like that. And I'm happy to hold. But if it gets euphoric and like they get to a price that I think is out of line before that, I'll definitely unload, So
I think that's wise.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, don't follow me.
Not advice.
Yeah. Literally spent a grip on fucking cartoon penguins. So is what it is.
Yeah, I just saw in the group chat one day that you were buying a bunch of penguins, and I was thinking, like, what has happened today? Like, what have I missed?
I basically just did a ton of research into the team, and then like the mutant ape thesis, and then the people shilling it, and then the community, like all of it kind of lined up, and me being like, okay, and they don't have a coin yet. Again, like there's a lot of smaller projects that already have a coin out there. For example, seals. Like I think the seals do well, but they already have a coin. So I wanted that potential airdrop of like a fat bag of whatever coin they have.
Right.
And I think, again, that's like a thesis going into 2023 for a lot of these projects. I think Azuki probably drops one. I think a lot of these bigger players do. And I think it's going to be worth something.
Absolutely. Just like the ape coin.
Yeah. And that, if
Huge
you've held if you've held a BAYC, even if you bought it near the top and you got your mutants or whatever, like, or maybe you missed out on mutants because that was earlier on, but you got the land drop, you got the coin drop. It was almost paid for the initial buy-in. So you're almost holding a free ape if you sold all those at the peak. And so like, that's kind of my plan there, is like, maybe they airdrop me enough coin to literally sell enough to cover the cost of the NFTs that I bought now. So we'll see.
We'll see.
That's it.
We will see.
Okay, this one's for you. Interesting. Will we know if we are safe for opportunities at joining/getting the whitelist for Bender project?
Did you read it in your head before you read it out loud?
No, and I don't understand what the question is. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think the word safe is kind of used ironically in the sense of like not so much danger, but as in like from missing out.
Okay.
Yeah. Like right now, it's all done a little bit with opacity, so you don't really know because
Okay.
I don't want it to be able to be gamed. So if everyone understood the method to the madness, all these people that are going through and liking every single tweet I've ever tweeted or like commenting on tweets from like 3 months ago, they would find a way to sneak their way in and kind of game the system. But this early round is entirely focused on finding ways to involve and reward people that have been around for like the long-term supporters of Bender. And I'm not gonna be able to get all of them, but it's an effort to capture most of them or many of them, which is why there's so much inactivity. It was a way to say, okay, I can get the tourists off my page, and I can get the people that are just around because they like Bender, they support what I've done, to still engage. And it's easy then to reward those people because I've kind of curated a lower engagement level that shows who is really around for the content versus who's just around for like the vampire engagement, whatever it may have been.
Yep.
So right now there is no way to see, hey, am I in or am I not in, and how is the next one going to happen? Because once I start to unveil that, it'll get a little more gamified to where you can go and say, okay, if I want it, I can go do this, that, and the third. So there will be a way to determine if you have been, I guess, selected is kind of a strange word, but like made it into a snapshot or into one of these lists. As of right now, there's not, but some information for the podcast is that the pre-sales allocated 5 to 7%. There's a ton of room on it still. I think a lot of people are afraid they're missing out or like their time is past, but yeah, I keep telling people it's early because it is early. I haven't really ramped up filling slots yet because I'm trying to make sure I do it correctly. So stick around. All you have to do is kind of just be present on my Twitter, and I'm almost confident you'll get in.
All right. Good to know. I think most people here are probably in that camp already, so that'll be good for them to hear. But yeah, and again, that's a smart way to do it. And, it's awesome to see a different approach. We've talked about whitelist, we've talked about applications, we've talked about all these things. And so doing something novel is always appreciated. And then, yeah, I think it bodes well because you build a community of real people instead of, grinding a whitelist or submitting an application. And like, again, I'll say like, if I'm not safe, then it's going to be an entertaining couple podcasts after mint, but
you're banned.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. If you follow me, you're banned too. So GG.
That was kind of part of the fun of kind of giving out those early questions on the podcast, like, I don't know, months ago.
Yeah.
To where people that listen to the podcast had such an easy opportunity to get in. They just had to send me a message of like a Simpsons character or something.
Yeah. And we've talked about it in private, is that maybe the podcast will have more chances for that.
Yeah. The podcast is one of the only things I do publicly in the space. So it would only make sense if the podcast had more opportunities that were kind of easier than the rest, which is why, hiding the breadcrumb in the tweet yesterday, it took 25 minutes for those 5 slots to be filled. Whereas had I tweeted that, it would have been instantaneously.
Right.
So it's just nice to get people rewarded that support all things that we're doing. So
So there
stay
you go.
tuned. I would put the podcast Twitter on notifications. I would watch the tweets. I'd be very attentive.
There you go. You have it. There's the alpha right there. If people are looking for alpha, like there's no better place. It's funny that it took 25 minutes when we were talking about you releasing that with producer and all that shit. I was like, oh, this is going to be found super fast. But then, 30
I was
minutes
shocked,
is plenty of time. If you have notifications on, like 30 minutes, like, I don't know. It makes it seem like it's attainable, if you will. Some of these other ways people do it, it's just like it's gone in 2 seconds, So there was never really a chance for someone who's not on this thing 24/7.
I was shocked. Now it's about how do you balance time zones, because you can't just service the West Coast and the East Coast. You have to find a way to say, okay, I need to franchise out the UK. I need to do Eastern Europe. I need to find a way to get Asia and Australia, because if all this happens on a time zone where I'm awake, and maybe I'm not awake during all of them, like you have to make sure that it's fair for everyone.
Right.
So if you're from somewhere else and you're wondering like, oh, do I need to stay up late? Hopefully not. I'm trying to make sure that there's opportunities for everybody, for all walks of life.
We love to see it. I think it's going to bode well in the end. So,
look, if it doesn't, I can say I tried, and everyone else would be like, damn, he did. He put a lot of effort into how he's doing this. So that's all we can do.
Absolutely. And that's all you can ask out of a quote unquote founder. So I think that's all the Twitter topics for today, but solid ones. Keep them rolling in. Obviously, the ones that aren't crypto related are super fun and funny and kind of like break up the show a bit. But plenty more content coming this year, and hopefully nothing but good vibes.
2023 is the year of good vibes, big moves and good vibes.
I love it. Okay, well, if you don't have anything, we can wrap it here.
I've got nothing left.
Love to see it, but also hate to see it. All right. If you made it this far, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, check out the YouTube or whatever, like, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. We're going to try and pump these out more frequently and hold us to it. It's always, it does light a fire if you guys comment like, hey, where's the next episode? So
it's fun to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when I tag Bender openly and say when recording.
I know. I was like, dude, come on.
Like it's all on you. Anyway, thanks again for listening. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Yep. See you later.
Peace.